UFOs became a modern sensation after the media reported that U.S. businessman Kenneth Arnold had witnessed flying saucers on June 24, 1947. Since then, a flood of similar stories followed from around the world. Most famously, a UFO was alleged to have crashed to the ground near Roswell, New Mexico, in July 1947. In the end, though, no wrecks or alien bodies were recovered, only the ambiguous testament of witnesses. It is the same with all the other UFO stories from around the world. They were mysteries without any substantial evidence. But with the advancement of technology, multiple UFO sightings around the world have been captured on camera. For the believers, they are proof of something bigger going on, something that involves keeping the public in the dark. For non-believers, they are mere optical illusions or light tricks. However, when the United States finally admitted in 2017 that they were investigating UFOs, it sent skeptical people into a frenzy. And when leaked videos of the Navy began to surface online, compelling the U.S. to publicly acknowledge the footage, people soon began to understand that there is a lot underneath the surface that meets the eye. But for the people who are really looking, UFOs have been documented long before Kenneth Arnold's experience. You can see them in several paintings from the time of the Renaissance, and ancient Hindu textures depict flying discs coming down from the sky. And not just that, a mysterious event in Japan at the beginning of the 19th century shows surprising similarities with stories of UFOs. In 1803, a round vessel drifted ashore on the Japanese coast, and a beautiful woman emerged, wearing strange clothing and carrying a box. It is said that she was unable to communicate with the locals, and her craft was marked with mysterious writing. This story of an Itsurobun, or hollow ship, in the province of Hitachi, now Ibaraki Prefecture, is found in many records of the Edo period. These ancient tales and drawings suggest towards one thing: UFOs have been gracing our skies since a very long time, long before humanity achieved technological leaps. And even today, our technologies come nowhere close to these objects that disappear into thin air, split into two, and hover silently, like a predator watching its prey. Today, we will look at 10 of the best alien and UFO encounters reported by us in 2022.
You are watching Call of the Cosmos.
In April 2016, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft reached the Kuiper Belt. After capturing its first target, Pluto, the probe turned its sight towards a large object on a strange trajectory. Yes, we are talking about 15A Teneron, named after the Celtic god of death, war, and the other world. Now, why is it so special, you ask? Well, most of the objects in the Kuiper Belt are made of rock and ice. But Iran doesn't move like any of cataloged object in the belt. This has made scientists question if it is made of something completely different, something much stronger, because it's rotating so fast that centrifugal force should have torn it apart. How could something spin so fast and stay intact? Scientists believe that the fast spin is creating artificial gravity, and gravity would be the most vital thing needed for long interstellar travel. You cannot have astronauts floating around the spacecraft while traversing hundreds of light years. This probed the New Horizon to take a closer look at the object. And here's when things turned strange. As the probe tried to get a closer look, suddenly all of its sensors went dead, transmissions cut off. It was as if someone was monitoring our presence, someone or something that did not want us to know about them. But just before losing contact, NASA observed that Iran was spinning like a large spaceship would. Now, you can say that it might have been a technical glitch, but here is when things get crazier. Only when New Horizon moved away from Iran, it suddenly came back to life as if nothing had ever happened in the first place. Now, I would leave it to you to assume what it was, but if it's an intelligent alien civilization, it makes complete sense to stay far away from Earth and silently observe us. From the cold and dark space in the Kuiper Belt, and whenever the need arises for a closer inspection, hop onto a spacecraft and camouflage it, so that it appears as a mere space rock to the beings of the planet. A bizarre UFO case dubbed Brazil's Roswell set the internet abuzz amid news that a video of a captured creature exists and could soon be released. The so-called Varginha incident, an alleged UFO crash, extraterrestrial encounter, and subsequent military cover-up made headlines in 1996 and sparked a media frenzy in Brazil. Despite official government denials that anything unusual had occurred, it remains one of the country's most famous UFO cases, where many residents to this day insist that the Brazilian military captured two alien beings and threatened locals to keep quiet. Governments tend to cover up everything they can't explain to their population. Retired Brazilian Air Force General José Carlos Pereira told Fox, "Let's get to the bottom of this." In January 1996, locals in Varginha reported seeing a strange, cigar-shaped object about the size of a school bus slowly fall from the sky and crash in a field. A man who witnessed the alleged crash said that the unidentified object was floating and slowly losing altitude. He goes on to further describe that it looked like a washing machine struggling and fighting to keep its altitude. The side of it was completely torn and it had white smoke coming out. Within minutes, however, military trucks arrived from the nearby SA Army base, 30 kilometers from Varginha, and ordered them to leave, threatening them with their guns. Soon after, Varginha residents were stunned as a large military presence descended on the town, cordoning off several blocks and preventing anyone from entering. A group of girls then came forward, claiming they had stumbled across a strange creature in broad daylight at around 3:30 p.m. on January 20th, 1996. The being, which was huddled next to a wall by a clump of weeds in a vacant, grass-covered lot, was described as about 4 feet tall, with brown, oily skin, V-shaped feet, a large head, and huge red eyes. For its part, the Brazilian military said in 2010 that an official inquiry had concluded that the girls had actually encountered a homeless, a mentally unstable man covered in mud. However, one of the girls stressed that what they had seen was by no means a human, as she had seen the creature standing just 8 feet away from her. "When I said, 'Guys, look at that,' then it turned around," she said. "I saw the eyes and it took off running." Around 3 hours after the alleged encounter, the military had arrived. Apparently, one soldier present at the site had a film camera and recorded it, and that there was for sure a video in possession of the government. And this is where things get more interesting. A former Brazilian Air Force traffic controller claimed that shortly after the incident, the U.S. Air Force landed unannounced in Campinas and dispatched 2 helicopters to Varginha, where they collected something and took it away. What was collected is not known, but something was rescued, the retired officer said. According to local military and civilian witnesses, the bodies and crash debris were appropriated by agents from the United States of America. And after that, the matter was squashed, and as days passed, people got on with their lives, and soon, the incident was forgotten. Richard Evelyn Byrd Jr. was an American naval officer and explorer. He was a recipient of the Medal of Honor, the highest honor for valor given by the United States, and was a pioneering American aviator, polar explorer, and organizer of polar logistics. Aircraft flights in which he served as a navigator and expedition leader crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Byrd is first man to reach both the North Pole and the South Pole by air. He is also known for discovering Mount Sidley, the largest dormant volcano in Antarctica. He has been recognized for all his discoveries, except for one, an ancient city under Antarctica. The period between World Wars I and II marks the beginning of the mechanical, particularly the aerial age, of Antarctic exploration. Wartime developments in aircraft, aerial cameras, radios, and motor transport were adapted for polar operation. It is during this time that a lot of mysterious unidentified flying objects were said to have been spotted. However, modern UFO sightings became very frequent. Post the detonation of nuclear bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was as if we rattled some ancient, advanced beings, and they began to monitor us constantly. But who are these beings? And are they from another world? Or do they share this planet with us and have been living here long before humanity emerged? Let's get back to Admiral Richard Byrd, whose discovery in Antarctica was silenced by the government. Admiral Byrd had been on several explorations before, but after the World War, he was asked by the government to go on the biggest exploration to Antarctica. Following this, Mr. Byrd commanded more than 4,000 troops, warships, and planes on this top-secret expedition to the South Pole. The mission was named Operation High Jump, and it was to last for 4 months. The mission was a huge success. They discovered nearly 1/4 of the Antarctic coast, which had been previously unseen. It also further opened up the continent's interior for scientific exploration. However, in the 3rd month, something unexpected happened that the government allegedly keeps from the public even till this day. Admiral Byrd discovered a crystal city under Earth, but the government suppressed the information, and only after his death, his son discovered his diary, in which Byrd narrated the incident. While flying, he discovered an underworld Earth through the South Pole. Being an explorer that he was, he went in. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw lush green woods that led to a city like none other. A city made of crystal. Byrd suddenly realized that his aircraft was no longer in his control. Several flying objects appeared out of nowhere and hovered in the air effortlessly. These flying discs led him to a place where he met a being. In his diary, he calls the being the Master, who is very disappointed at what humans are doing. He fears that humanity will destroy the planet, which is their home too. Yes, they were concerned in the way we have been since then. Maybe they are more concerned now. That's why there have been several UFO sightings near nuclear missile silos, ufologists believe. One of the countries that had always shied away from UFOs and extraterrestrial discussions is Japan. In fact, the Japanese government went all the way to make an official statement in 2018, stating that it would not recognize any kind of alien or UFO activity presence in Japan. Japanese pilots, however, shared regular stories of UFO encounters during training. This prompted the Japanese government to strictly instruct the military to remain silent and never speak of such instances. Maamoto Sato, a retired lieutenant of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, recalls one of the strange incidents when a student in his fighter pilot course suddenly lost access to his in-flight computers, and upon looking up, saw a cigar-shaped object very much like Oumuamua flying about 1,500 high, before suddenly accelerating and disappearing into thin air. Sato later proposed to the policymakers that they should maintain date-wise data of these sightings and examine them further, but his requests fell on deaf ears. It is so bizarre that Japan would not acknowledge an identified aerial phenomenon up until 2020, and then suddenly, there was a strange shift in the policies. In September 2020, Japan finally ended its denial and ordered its forces to make a visual recording of these encounters. This shift in the policy is said to have happened upon the interference of the United States, which released classified UFO footage in the same year. The fact that Japan went from being in denial to building the Japanese Space Operations Squadron tells you that there is definitely a lot more than that meets the eye. The next on our list is a chilling event from the South American country of Chile. On November 11, 2014, Chilean naval officers flying in the coastal sector between the port of San Antonio and Quinteros spotted a strange object in the sky. Mind you, they were at an altitude of about 5,000 feet, and the unknown object was flying away from them at a similar speed to that of the helicopter. The Chilean government kept it a secret for 2 years, and then suddenly, they released and declassified the video evidence, along with an official report. You can clearly see in the video that the unidentified flying object is dispersing a trail of an unknown element into the air. But here's the strange thing. Chilean air traffic control failed to detect the object with radar, and on top of that, they received no response from the UFO whatsoever upon trying to communicate with it. For 9 minutes, they had the object captured in video before it suddenly gained speed and disappeared into the clouds, never to be spotted again. The Committee for Studies of Airborne Phenomena, which is comprised of scientists, analysts, and aeronautical technicians, studied the case and suggested that the object might be a medium-sized line aircraft, and the trail could be the reserve water inside the apparatus thrown by the crew. This, however, was dismissed on the grounds that neither the altitude at which the object moved nor the temperature of that moment could allow for such a wave of condensation. The Chilean military studied the incident for 2 whole years, but could neither identify the object nor its origin. Finally, they cataloged it as an unidentified air phenomenon and released the video to the public. Arizona is home to some of the most famous UFO cases in history, and this UFO/alien sighting is an encounter that is one of its kind. Beginning the night of November 5, 1975, a former logger, Travis Walton's experience has perhaps become the most credible account of a UFO and possible alien encounter in history. The case is especially compelling because several of Walton's fellow loggers witnessed the event too. After calling it a day, Walton and his colleagues got into a truck and set out for home when they suddenly saw a light in the forest. Initially, they suspected it was a forest fire. Concerned, they moved towards the source of the light, and what they saw there was something unbelievable. They found the light emanating from a strange object hovering above a clearing near the top of a hill. The men alleged that the object was disc-shaped with a smooth, mirror-like metal exterior. As they watched the object in awe, Walton jumped out of the truck to get a closer look, and as he crept up near it, he realized that it was not a very good idea after all. He decided to turn around and make a run, but as though that thing had read his mind, he was immediately hit by some sort of an invisible force that threw him several feet away. At their wits' end, the crew drove away as far as they could from the source of light, and only after the UFO was gone did they come out of their hiding and decided to check on Walter. But it was too late. Walton was gone. An extensive search was made over the next few days, but there was no trace of Walton. Now I know this makes his crew the primary suspects, but here is when things get weirder. After 5 days, Walton shows up, dazed and confused. He claims he regained consciousness along the side of the road, with images of some strange beings standing over him, constantly playing in his mind. He, however, remembers nothing else except he found himself walking along a highway 5 days later, with the flying saucer departing above him. Yes, we can say that Walton's story could be fabricated, but wait until you hear this. Walton and his co-workers were awarded a $5,000 prize for Best UFO Case of the Year after they were said to have passed polygraph tests administered by the Inquirer and the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization (IPRO). Some argue that Walton's claim was a hoax, but remember there was a full-scale police investigation. There were up to 16 lie detection tests and 6 people witnessed it together. Now, it is up to us to believe or dismiss Walton's claim, especially because a lot of people have faked UFO and alien sightings in the past, staining the authenticity of authentic videos. It was April of 2013. The location, Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol took off for routine mission. Shortly afterwards, they saw a strange light coming towards them. Taken off guard, the pilot immediately turns on the thermal imaging camera. The $1 million camera mounted on the plane immediately picked up the culprit, a metallic sphere, chafing the air as it moves at an incredible speed. Then, as if the plot playing itself a cliché, the object headed over to the ocean. Let's zoom in and get a clear understanding of what's going on in here. We can see here that the object splashes down and disappears under the water for a split second. And then something bizarre happens. The object reemerges, but it's split into two. Let's watch it in slow motion.
Yeah, but 2 good shoots. We're showing 2 good shoots in the air here from Munster. Roger that, I see the, I got the splash, 1 splash. 1 splash.
After staying in the air for some time, the object suddenly disappeared, never to be spotted again. When experts reviewed the footage, they found out that the thermal signatures of the object doesn't match with anything that we know of. Balloons, birds, drones, or even a man-made aircraft was ruled out due to the object's strange characteristics. Whatever it was, experts concluded it wasn't from any place here on Earth. Bizarre, right? We have seen a lot of UFO footages, but nothing like this one. Imagine an alien race that possesses such technology. What else are they capable of? In 1991, the appearance of extremely tiny coil-shaped artifacts found near the banks of Russia's Kazım, Narada, and Balbanya rivers brought about a debate that has continued even to this day. These manufactured coils were initially discovered during geological research associated with the extraction of gold in the Ural Mountains. These pieces include coils, spirals, shafts, and other unidentified components. What is so mysterious about these artifacts is that they were found at a depth between 10 and 40 feet in a geological stratus between 20,000 and 318,000 years old. Does it suggest that there may have been a culture capable of developing nanotechnology 300,000 years ago? According to an analysis from the Russian Academy of Sciences in Syktyvkar, the largest pieces found are mostly copper, while the smallest are made of tungsten and molybdenum. And molybdenum is the same mineral found in the UFO crash area in Roswell. Now, here's where things start to turn stranger. The shape of these artifacts suggests that they are manufactured and not naturally occurring metal fragments. In fact, they have been found to closely resemble the same miniature components of contemporary nanotechnology. Now some have argued that these tiny structures are merely debris left behind from test rockets being launched from nearby Playsetsk space station. However, a report from the Moscow Institute determined that they are far too old to have come from modern manufacturing. Moreover, the Central Scientific Research Department of Geology and Exploitation of Precious Metals in Moscow has concluded that despite being thousands of years old, the components are of a technological origin. All of the objects seem to be manufactured, as no type of natural process known could explain their creation. How humans 100,000 years ago would have been able to be technologically advanced to such a degree as to be able to create them is unknown. Is this mysterious discovery evidence that humans may have been more technologically advanced than previously believed, or are the objects evidence of extraterrestrial contact or presence? In the summer of 2011, Peter Lindbergh and Dennis Aberg, a couple of treasure hunters, along with their Ocean X diving team, were hunting on the floor of the northern Baltic Sea, when suddenly their sonar image caught a strange object, which would later be known as the Baltic Sea Anomaly, featuring a strange 1,000-foot-long runway and a strange object that appears to have slid across it. The Baltic Sea Anomaly has seen divers take a closer look. What was found below by the divers were steps and compartments, the potential for tunnels and passageways beneath the surface of the unknown object, and an ability for the object to block sonar. Those heading below the surface to snap some photographs of the interesting item found their equipment was not in working order, with sensor and photographic equipment both failing. Mysterious electrical interferences were cited as causing trouble, draining the recently charged batteries, and making it impossible to get a closer look. Outlandish theories live on, not just that it may be an extraterrestrial spacecraft which landed in the depths of the ocean, but that it may be a secret Nazi bunker. Simon Andrews, who first wrote the suggestion that the bunker could be an alien device, has noted it could be a secret military project pushed by Adolf Hitler during World War II. Claims a bunker was lowered into the sea were aired, but other claims over the presence of the bunker, including that of an ancient temple or Atlantis, have also been noted. There is also the chance that the Baltic Sea anomaly, which has stunned experts around the globe, is nothing more than a glacial deposit. However, nothing explains why electric devices will not work near it. And this is where things turn weird. Peter Lindbergh and Dennis Aberg, after having discovered the object, decided to go back again to get more pictures of it and collect some samples. However, when their divers were just about to make the dive, suddenly, readings showed that the temperature on top of the object drastically dropped below zero. In normal conditions, it is around 6 to 7 degrees Celsius. What caused the temperature around the object to drop suddenly is unknown. Regardless of that, the divers make the jump and reached the ocean floor after 2 hours. And when they touched the object, which until that point looked like concrete, turned black, the divers were taken aback. They had made over 2,000 dives before that and had never come across anything like this. Long story short, they returned to the ship with a sample, which was later studied by scientists. They found that the object was burned from the outside, yet cold from the inside, as if the burning object had suddenly entered a cold region, and hence its crystals couldn't grow. That perfectly explains a meteoroid. However, scientists also feel that it can be a remnant of a volcano, but a volcano remnant in the middle of nowhere, in the depths of the Baltic Sea. Nothing can explain that. The curiosity around the object became a global headline, and Peter and Dennis decided to go back again to get some more pictures and collect some more samples. For that, they needed funding. However, news soon started to spread via media that the object was nothing but a piece of rock, a glacial deposit. As this news began to spread, and the interest around the object began to die down, investors pulled off their funding, and Peter and Dennis began to receive death threats from random email addresses that not only threatened them, but their families too. Who are these people that do not want them to go down there? Who are the people who do not want us to find about the object's mysterious origins? Makes you think, right? Moving on from the Baltic Sea anomaly to Lake Baikal in Russia, the deepest freshwater body in the world. Fishermen tell of powerful lights coming from the deep and objects flying up from the water. In one case in 1982, a group of military divers training at Baikal spotted a group of humanoid creatures dressed in silvery suits. The encounter happened at a depth of 50 meters, and the divers tried to catch the strangers. 3 of the 7 men died, while 4 others were severely injured. What do you guys think of these encounters? Drop in your comments to let us know, and don't forget to subscribe to Lab 360, because together we will explore.
You are watching Call of the Cosmos.